Welcome to Open Film Forge. Let's look at some vintage and odd lenses to inspire some creativity. First up, the Konica Hexanon 40mm f1.8. This is a pancake lens. It is very well built and creates a beautiful look. The only downsides are, it is difficult to find and has gone up in price recently. The characteristics of this lens are that, in the right conditions, it has a nice shallow depth of field and pleasing bokeh. It is very sharp in the center, however it falls off slightly around the edges. This is not noticeable in crop sensor cameras such as APS-C or Micro Four Thirds. Next is the Lomo Smena 40mm f4. This lens was removed from a broken camera and combined with an adapter and a helicoid ring so that it could be used on mirrorless cameras. This lens is super tiny and very lightweight. While it is very sharp in the center, it falls off gradually and creates a vignette look. This is not as noticeable on crop sensor cameras or if the image is cropped in manually, but I think it is also a storytelling feature. If you need the focus of your story to be in the center of what you are filming, then this may be a useful feature rather than a flaw. Now we have the Minolta Telerocore 135mm f2.8. This is a very well-built telephoto lens. It is sharper when it is stopped down. However, I think it is as good as some modern lenses I have owned and is far cheaper. Here are some comparison shots. Everything was filmed on a Canon EOS R50 at 4K and 24 frames per second. This has been my favorite camera. The only flaw, if you can call it that, is that it cannot shoot log or raw video, which means it is restricted to 8-bit. It can shoot up to 120 frames per second for high-speed filming, and it is fantastic at it. It is a crop sensor camera. This camera has an APS-C sensor which has a crop factor of 1.6. This can be useful when using older lenses that are not sharp around the edges. As far as the 8-bit footage limitation, as long as you are aware of how to shoot and process the video with lower bit depth, you may not even notice any banding. There are also LUTs that can convert Rec 709 to log, which can be helpful for color grading. There are also LUTs called rescue LUTs that are capable of fixing under or overexposed footage, as well as other issues such as shadow or highlight detail. Introducing noise such as film grain overlay can also help with hiding banding, assuming that the banding is not too apparent. With all of that in mind, it could be possible to produce very professional quality looking video from even an older camera that was limited to Rec 709. At some point, I may try to run a comparison between 8-bit and 10-bit footage and see what has to be done to keep it looking great without banding. I think this is possible for the simple fact that non-4K Blu-ray movies look amazing with no banding, and they are only 8-bit. Some of my favorite videos I have shot was done on an old Canon 4000D. That camera could not shoot 10-bit and had a maximum resolution of 1080p at 30 frames per second. It was also a crop sensor camera, but was not a mirrorless, and despite it lacking all of the features of a modern camera, it still took amazing footage. I believe that having a camera with some sort of interchangeable lens mount is more useful than many other features, and that learning how to light properly is more important than any camera ever will be. I am working on building a Cine Pi camera to test and see how well it can perform. This would be a very inexpensive option for anyone wanting to get into filmmaking, and it is also possible that many inexpensive lens options could exist for it as well. Smaller sensors make cheaper and lighter cameras, and with depth of field adapters, you can use full frame or even conceivably large format lenses on an extremely tiny camera sensors. This could make cinema cameras very lightweight and very inexpensive in the future. Starting from worst to best, here is the Soliger 500mm f8 mirror lens. This lens is heavy. In fact, it is so heavy that you have to support it, and not the camera. The other issue is that even at f16, which is as far as the aperture will go, it is not sharp at all. This could have some dreamy effect, but otherwise useless. It does have a strange ring-shaped bokeh that could have some use as a special effect. Simply put, don't buy one unless it is very cheap and you have the room to store it. Next is the Minolta P-Rokkor 75mm f2.5. This is not even a camera lens, but was in fact removed from a slide projector. While this lens is not sharp and tends to be a little too soft, it is one of my favorites. It can create bubble bokeh, which is aptly named and very beautiful. Although it is not commonly found ready to use on a camera, it can be found on auction websites very cheaply in Minolta Mini 16 slide projectors and easily adapted to a camera using a helicoid. This lens creates a soft dreamlike effect in combination with the bubble bokeh and reminds me of 80s and 90s fantasy films. This would be a great lens for a fantasy film or a dream sequence, as well as for portrait, baby, or wedding photography. Finally, the lens that might surprise you the most. This is a 35mm f1.6 lens from Arjucam and is sold for the Raspberry Pi high-quality camera. It is a C-mount lens that qualifies as a TV camera lens, so it may surprise you that it could be used on a crop sensor camera as it was designed for much smaller sensors. This lens is built well, has very nice aperture blades, and can be found for around $35. The only issue I have found is that due to its size, it can be a little tricky to focus. But where are you going to find a compact lens for only $35 that looks this good? That's all for this video. Please like and subscribe.